G'day guys, and welcome to another Blender Buzz tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how we use Blender's meta rig system, and the reason this is really good is because some of you might not be riggers. Okay, you don't know how to set up all these complex IK and FK systems and like all these little fancy controllers. Now, what's nice about this rigify system is that all you have to do, okay, if I quickly grab this and just hide it, okay, all you have to do is create a meta rig. Roughly place these bones on your character, and then just press the little generate button here, and it will create all of these really fancy controllers and this whole fancy rig system for you. So then you can really easily control your character. So if I quickly select this rig here, I can quickly show you just some of the things that it has. It has all these really nice FK and IK sliders, and these aren't even all the bones you're seeing here. I can quickly enable some of these other things here. So it just creates this really detailed rig. It can give you so much control. And the nice thing is you don't have to be a professional Blender user at all. You might not even know anything about rigging, but you can still follow this tutorial. So I'm going to be going step by step how we set this up. It's really easy, whether you're an advanced Blender user, whether you're a beginner. If you don't like rigging and you find it to be a painful process, which it is, this tutorial will be perfect for you. So without wasting any more time, the character we're going to be using here is one I found on BlendSwap. Now, if you don't have BlendSwap, you can become a member. It is free. Okay, you don't have to pay anything. And the character we're going to be downloading is the female anime base mesh. Okay. Now I'll put a link to that in the description below, so you can go get that link, put it in your browser, go here, and if you're a member, you can download it. If you're not a member, you can get a membership and you can download this model. It's a really cool site, and I should also just go ahead. The person who created this is Joshua S. So I'm going to give credit to him, okay? He's the guy who created this, so I'm going to be using this for the tutorial. It is not my work, so I am giving credit to the individual who made it. Okay, so without wasting any more time, go ahead and download this, and then what you're going to do is you're going to open it up in Blender, and you're going to get started. So with the scene open that you've downloaded from BlendSwap, you're going to see this the model. Okay. Now there are two models in this scene. We got the one on the first layer, which is the lower poly version, and then on the second layer down here, okay, we've got this higher poly version. So on layer 2, I'm just going to press A to select everything, and then X and delete, because we're not going to use that one. I'm going to click on my first layer again. Okay. And we got our model here. I think I might have deleted the eyes accidentally, but we'll make our own eyes later. We'll set up some spheres, so that's okay. Yeah, we're pretty much ready to start working on it now. To make things a little bit easier, I'm just going to go and minimize this. So I'm going to grab this tab here and just close this. Okay. And I'm going to drag this one up. I'm just going to enable my timeline here, just so it looks like the usual default Blender scene, and just drag this out a little bit. Okay, so we now have this model here. Now, one of the things with rigging is we always want to work in a T pose, and you can see by default this model here is not in that position. Now I chose this model because it has some pretty good topology. I looked at some of the models on BlendSwap, and this is one with pretty nice topology, and that's why I chose it. But it isn't in the position we want. So one thing I'm also going to do quickly is just enable my properties panel by pressing N, and we can just go to the view, and over here in the clip we're just going to set the end to 1000. Okay, because this one is set to 10,000, and that's why it has that funny see-through effect. And I'm also going to go down, and I'm just going to enable my screencast keys so you guys can see the keys I'm pressing. And I'm going to press N to minimize that. Okay. So to make things easier when we're modifying this mesh, I'm just going to go and delete half of it and apply mirror modifier. So I'm going to go grab my face select, press Z to go into wireframe, and I'm just going to B box select, press B, and box select half of this model. Okay. Just make sure I get all of these vertices, especially here in the nose area. And then I'm going to go X, delete faces. And I'm going to go add modifier. I'm going to add a mirror modifier. And I'm going to make sure I enable clipping. Okay. Now I'm going to press Z, go out of wireframe. I'm going to enable my, excuse me, I'm going to enable my vertex mode. Okay. Then I'm going to go back into wireframe. And I'm going to get C, select. So I'm going to press C. And I'm just going to select the arm. Okay. Up to about here. I'm going to click here to put my cursor roughly in this area here. And then I'm going to go enable 3D cursor mode. And I'm going to go R. And I'm going to slowly rotate my arm up. Okay. Like so. Just doing this carefully as I go. Just bring the arm up. I'm going to deselect some of those. Just move my arm up like so. Okay, so our arm is nice and straight. Okay. Happy with that. So we can smooth that out a little bit later. But it's important that we make sure we have this shoulder here, okay? Just like that. And then I'll do a loop select. Control plus to grow the selection. And I'll just go W and smooth. Okay, just to smooth that out. Okay, that looks really nice. And then I'm gonna grab this hand and I'm gonna bring it downwards. Okay, so I'm gonna go C select. Just gonna select this hand. Face it from a forward position. I'm gonna disable 3D cursor and go into median point. And I'm still gonna make sure my proportional editing is on. And I'm just gonna go and turn this. Okay, like so. Just carefully turning it so the hand is flat, like so. Okay, then I'm going to go to my top view, just move it here and make sure that looks right. Then I'm going to add some more loop cuts in here. Okay, so it's smoother. Then I'm just going to select all of these vertices here in the lower arm. I'm going to go W and I'm going to go smooth. Okay, maybe do it 2 times just to smooth that out. And there we have our arm. And we might bring this hand up a little bit to make it straight. Okay, G, move it up like so. Okay. Now, when you're watching this tutorial, do keep in mind when you ever model in the future, make sure you always model in a nice straight pose. Okay, so I'm also going to go grab my model and just enable smooth shading. Okay, so that looks a lot better. And yeah, we've got our arms in a much better position. Now, one thing I also want to straighten out are these hands. So I'm going to go back to edit mode. And this is the more tricky part, but just follow along with me and you'll see it's not too hard. So we're going to select this first finger here. Okay, just like about 2 loops here. Okay, then I'm going to go R, just rotate, bring that up like so, disable this one, and just straighten out this finger. Just grab some of these loops, okay, and just straighten out the finger. Just like that. I'm going to do the same with these guys here. Just rotate, bring it up, rotate. And this is a little bit tedious, but yeah, we're just going to essentially just bring up all the fingers. Just make them nice and straight. And the reason we do this is when we're actually rigging the fingers and we're setting up the rig, it's just going to make things easier for us. So I'm just making sure that I get all of this nice and straight. Okay, doesn't have to be perfect for now. We can refine it in the top view. I'm just getting it rough. Okay, so grabbing this one here as well. Okay, I'm just going to rotate it, bring it up. Rotate it some more, bring it up here, like so. Size that. Go to my top orthographic view, and I'm just gonna straighten these fingers out a little bit, like so. Okay, there we go. And to smooth things out a little bit, I'm just gonna grab some of these loops here. Control plus to grow the selection, and go W, smooth. Okay, and you can see now our fingers look much nicer. Okay, and that's going to make rigging easier as well. So I might also select these knuckles here and just give them a smooth as well. Okay, and the thumb is pretty good. Might just give that a smooth as well. W smooth. And I'm also going to just add some more loop cuts in here. Okay, the same with these fingers. Control R, loop cut, double G to slide, and the same here. Okay, I'm just adding in some more geometry. Control R and double G. Control R, double G, moving in. And yeah, that looks pretty good. So I think that is all we have to do for the arm for now. One thing we can do is just make this leg nice and straight. So bring the feet in a little bit. Okay. And when we do the rigging eventually, make sure this is in global. When we do the rigging eventually, you're going to understand why we want everything to be nice and straight. Okay. It has to do with keeping our bones straight, so our IK can work much more effectively. Okay. And that's it. We can now start adding our rig. Now, one thing you'll notice is this model is much too big. So I'm going to go cursor to center. Oops. And then I'm going to go enable my 3D cursor, and I'm just going to scale this down. Okay. Just like that to about this size. Then I'm going to go Control A scale, Control A rotation, and Control A location. And the reason we do this, we want to make sure that this mesh is completely set, okay, and that it's not off scale. So we want it to be 100% its scale. So that's where we apply the scale. And we're now going to go ahead with the cursor in the center, add, and we're going to add an armature. Now, here's where you have to pay attention. We're not going to use single bone. Now, it is possible that you don't have these two options here, okay, human meta rig and this one here. And if you don't have that, what you have to do is you have to go to File, User Preferences, and go to Add-ons, and just type in Rig, okay? And you're going to see one called Rigging, Rigify. Now, if this isn't ticked, you don't see this little black tick, just enable that and go Save User Settings. And then when you go to Add Armature, you're going to see Human Meta Rig, okay? So make sure you create a human meta rig, okay? And you're going to see it creates this tiny little human meta rig. So we want to scale it up in the viewport. So I'm going to go S to scale, and we're just going to scale it up roughly, okay? To about this size. I'm going to go to my right, and I'm just going to grab my character, and instead of moving the rig, I'm just going to move the character forward, okay? And like I said, it only has to be rough for now, okay? And yeah, that's looking good. And before we go into edit mode, I'm just going to go Control A, and I'm going to apply the scale of my rig, okay? And this is very important, because if you don't apply the scale, okay, if you don't go Control A on the rig and go apply scale, when we generate the rigify later on, it's going to create a lot of problems, and the bone shapes aren't going to be scaled properly. So make sure you apply the scale. Okay, so with our rig selected, we're going to go into edit mode. Okay, and we're going to click on our armature settings here in the little tab. And under display, we're going to make sure that X-ray is enabled. Okay, and we're also going to go to options in our tool panel and enable X axis mirror. So when we edit bones on this side, it does it on the other side. So we only have to work on one side, which makes things more efficient for us, and it's going to save us a lot of time. Okay, so I'm going to go, and I'm going to go to my right orthographic view first, and I'm going to start with the foot. Okay, so I'm going to grab this ankle bone here, and I'm going to go G, and I'm going to move it to the ankle here. I'm going to grab this point here, I'm going to drag it out here, go into wireframe, and just put it in the middle of the foot here. Now, there's not enough vertices here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly tab out of edit mode, grab my mesh, and I'm just going to go Control R and add a loop over there. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to my armature, go back into edit mode, and now I have a loop in that area. Okay. I'm going to grab the ball of my foot, and I'm just going to move it to here, like so. And I'm going to grab my knee, I'm going to move it up to the knee. Now, one thing we don't want to do is we don't want this to be precisely in the center. We want it to be kind of forward. Okay, so it's going to favor bending that direction. And I'm also going to just make sure I'm in median point as well. Okay, so that's good. And then I'm going to go to my top bone here. I'm going to drag this one to about here. Then I'm going to go forward. Now in the front, we don't want to bend anything. Okay, we don't want to do that or this. That's a big no-no. Okay, so this needs to be nice and straight. Now, one mistake that a lot of people make when they're rigging is they put this bone here too low in the armature. Okay? It's always important to have it at least about here, like this. Okay, so picture from here to here as a 45-degree angle. You want this to be placed somewhere around there. Okay, so excuse me, that is the leg done. So we can now go to the hip. So I'm going to grab the hip, bring it G to bring it up here like so. Grab this, bring it back. Grab this bit here, bring it in. Grab the chest and the neck bone, so C. And just move these two to here. Okay. So this is the spine, this is the chest, and this is the pelvis. Okay. Just like that. And also of these, you do not want to move them like this. Okay, just keep it nice and straight. Okay, that's looking good. So we can go up to our head. Okay, bring this one down to about here. Grab this top piece. I'm going to bring it up to here. That looks nice. I'm going to grab my clavicle bone here. Bring this one down. Okay, bring it in a little bit. Grab this clavicle tip and just bring it to the middle of the arm. I'm going to go Shift S, cursor to selected. I'm going to grab this guy here, and I'm going to go Shift S, selection to cursor. So that's snapped onto there nicely. And with the cursor still in that position, I'm just going to go C select, and I'm going to select all of these bones here in the arm. I'm going to go enable 3D cursor, and I'm just going to go R, and I'm going to rotate this bone up like so. Okay, that's done. That's really cool. So the next thing to do with all of these still selected is to deselect the thumb bones here. Okay, so these ones here. So we only want the fingers, the hand, and the arm. Okay, not the thumb. It's very important that you don't get the thumb bones. And then you're going to go S, Z, 0. Okay, and enter. And now that's straightened everything out. And I'm also going to go and grab this bone because it's rotated a little bit. And I'm going to go Control R and just rotate it till it's nice and straight. Okay. Then I'm going to go to my top orthographic view. Go into wireframe and just move this one to the middle of the arm where it's going to bend. And then I'm going to C select my hand bones and just roughly move them into place of my hand. Okay. Put the 3D cursor here so I can rotate around it and just roughly place these guys here. Cool. So that is nice and straight now. So our mesh isn't quite lined up. So instead of moving our rig, okay, I'm going to tab out, grab my rig, and I'm just going to move the hand in place. Okay, so just grab your hand vertices, rotate the hand a bit, and just G, right, enable fall off, and just bring this down a bit. Okay, like so. So what we have, and we'll continue with our hands in a little while, but what we have so far is we have a nice and straight T-post character. We have a rig that is nicely positioned. Okay, it's up to scale, and it's all going to work really nicely when we generate the rig. So to continue with our hands, okay, I'm going to go into wireframe. I'm going to make sure that this piece here is right in the middle here. Okay, I'm going to grab this guy here, bring it back. And instead of having to work in wireframe the whole time, what we can do is we can just grab our mesh quickly, go to our object settings here, and just go under display and enable wire. Okay, then grab our rig again, go into edit mode, and now we can continue. Okay, so I'm essentially just going to move these fingers into place roughly. So I'm going to grab this pinky first, and I'm going to make sure I'm in median point, and I'm just going to scale this guy up. and go G, rotate, and just get it roughly in place, okay? So when we start off, we just roughly do this. Rotate, just roughly getting it into place. Same with this guy here. Just roughly doing it. Same here, okay? Just like that. Okay, now I can start refining this. I'm going to grab this one, put it in the tip, this one over here, and this one over here. Now with bones, it's very important that you don't grab this and put it where there is no loop. It always has to be over a loop so it can deform, okay? So just make sure each one of these have a loop. Okay, G. Okay, for some reason it's not displaying this loop in if you're not in wireframe, so just go into wireframe and make sure it has a loop, and the same with this one here. I'll give it a loop here. Okay, and this one, let's move it here. So that's all we're doing, is we're just giving each one of these, pulling it towards a loop so it has somewhere to deform. Just like that. Okay. Grab this bone here, put it where the knuckle is. Same with these guys. Just put them all where a knuckle is. And yeah, we can refine that in a little while. But for now, I'm also just going to go ahead and start positioning my thumb. Okay, so I'm going to grab these bones here, go to my top orthographic view, just rotate them like so, bring it towards here, go in my front view, and just drag it up like so. Okay, and we'll refine that in a little while as well. But for now, I'm just going to size these bones down, just drag them. Okay, these are the finger bones. And this guy I'm just going to drag here. Okay, cool. So with this thumb bone, this one is a little bit tricky to set up, but what we're going to do is we're going to face it. We're going to look from the back of this chain here. Okay, so if I go to my armature settings, I enable axes. Okay, we're going to see that the Z axes here are pointing in like this. Okay, so we want to be having the Z axis face away from us like so. Okay, and then we're just going to move this like so. Just give each one of these a loop as well, and move that one. So if we disable axes and X-ray, okay, we can now see, if we select everything, that it's nice and nicely inside of our mesh. Okay, so we can still come in here and just move things around a little bit. Okay, so I can select this bone, move it here. And a lot of this is just editing, so just take your time and just make sure everything is nicely positioned. Okay, go to your front, and let's just finish off these fingers here. So I can grab this guy here, this guy, and this guy. Okay, enable X-ray again. I'm just going to bring these guys up. Same with these guys here. These points here, just bring them up as well. These guys here, just make sure all of these are not too low. Okay, just make sure they're all nicely in the middle of our fingers. Just go disable X-ray so we can make sure they're in there nicely. And this is where it's just about tweaking. Okay, so this is really the hardest part of setting up this rig, is just moving the fingers around roughly. Okay, so I'm going to grab this guy, just move all of these up, make sure they're nice and center in the fingers. Okay, so it's just a matter of looking around, you know, grabbing these bones in wireframe and just making sure they're all positioned properly. Just bring this down, this one as well. Okay, and that looks good. So one thing we also need to do is just enable X-ray again, and just go Control R to just rotate these nice and straight again. Control R. This is really quick to do. Just Control R. Okay, and I apologize if I'm going too fast, but you can pause and just do this yourself. Just Control R and straighten out these bones. Okay, Control R, this one here. that's just going to make things nice and straight. Control R, Control R. Cool. Okay, so we have that pretty much done. So let's just go through our rig, make sure we have everything positioned where we need it. Okay, so we have our feet. Our feet are nicely positioned. Oops. Our knee, okay, is positioned here. It's correct. Okay. Our legs fine. Our pelvis is in the right position. Our spine is good. Our chest is good. Our neck is good. The head is good. And the clavicle and the arm is good. The hand is good. And the thumb is good. And these finger bones, they're also good. So it's all good. Everything is ready, and we can now go on to the next step. So I'm just going to grab my mesh and just go and disable wireframe and display. Okay, so we now have this. Cool. So I'm also going to go select my mesh, and we can now apply the mirror modifier. Okay, so the next step is the fun part. Now is where we get to grab our rig, and we get to use the rigify options. So select your armature. Okay, go to your rig armature settings, and we're going to go down to the bottom here, and you're going to see an option called rigify button, and there's going to be this little button called generate. Okay, now before we press it, we're just going to one more time make sure it's scaled properly. So with our rig selected, go Control A and apply scale. Okay, and if you moved your rig outside of edit mode, make sure you also apply location. But because we didn't, I'm not going to do that, and I'm just going to go ahead and press generate. And this might take a few seconds. And there we have it. We have our controllers now generated, and that is it. We didn't have to set up any of this. We didn't have to set up IKs. The rigify does all of this for you, and that's why it is one of my favorite features in Blender. And I decided to make this tutorial for you guys. Okay. Now, what we have to do is now grab our original rig, okay, G, not the one that's just been generated, and just go M and move it to the second layer. Okay. So now that's out of the way. And now we select this newly generated rig, and we go to pose mode. Okay, and we make sure we're in our armature settings, and under skeleton, you can see here we now have all these bones here. So I'm going to go A to select all of these, and go H to hide them. And then holding in Shift, I'm going to click on this layer here, this third one out, and enable that. Like holding in Shift, and if I go to wireframe, I can now see these bones here. Okay, so I'm going to go and make sure under display also that my X-ray is enabled. And we now have these bones, and these are going to be the deformation bones that actually skin to the mesh. So I'm going to go back into object mode, grab my mesh, holding in Shift, select my armature, and go Control P with automatic weight. Okay, and now grab your armature again, go into pose mode. Okay, holding in Shift, disable this layer, and go Alt H to unhide these. Okay, and now we can disable X-ray, and there we have it. We have our rig. Okay, and it's now parented to our mesh. So if we go into pose mode, we can now grab these controllers, and we can control our model. Okay, and it has all these fancy features like IK and FK. The hand rig is really cool. You can scale these, okay, to rotate the fingers. Okay, it's really cool. And if you want to unset scales and rotations and locations, all you have to do is A to select everything, Alt G, Alt R, Alt S, and it puts everything back into place. Okay, now I'm going to quickly show you how we use the IK. Okay, if we grab the hand IK here, for example, okay, what we can do is we can open up the properties panel, go down, and you're going to see here rig layer. And these are all the features you can use here. So I'm going to go ahead and disable the tweak next to fingers. The FK I'm going to disable. And I'm also going to disable the FK for the legs and the leg tweaks and the arm tweaks. So the only ones we have are the finger, torso, head, arm left, right, arm left, and leg left and leg right. Okay. Now if I grab this IK and I move it, it's not going to do anything. So what I have to do is, with this IK selected, I have to go to rig main properties and just increase this FK IK value. And if I move it now, we can see the arm moves. Okay. And I can now do a lot of cool things with the arm, and it's the same thing with the one on the right here. If I select that and I drag this value, we can now control it. If I decrease this value, it loses control. Okay, so this is like a slider that you can use in animation. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that's at 1 for now. And it's the same with the feet. I'm just going to increase the IK value, grab this guy here, increase the value here, so I can now control the feet. Okay, and I can control the body with this one. I can rotate. I can grab this, and you can grab these guys here to these are the arm targets. Okay, these are the leg targets, and this essentially just gives you a whole lot of control. You can do all sorts of things, all sorts of animations with these fancy controllers. You can control the head, do all sorts of things. So yeah, and if you wanted to do some work on a weight painting, all you have to do is grab all of these, hide them, hold in shift and enable the weight bones again. Okay, and just with them selected, holding in shift, select the mesh and go to weight paint, and now you can do weight painting. You can refine your weights. Okay, you can make sure X mirror is enabled, so when I paint here, okay, and I add values here, it'll mirror all of that over to the other bones as well, because this has already named everything for you. Okay, so you can now do some weight painting, and I'm not going to show you how to do this. This is not a weight painting tutorial, but this is to show you how to set up this rig, and it's really easy, and it already kind of does most of the work for you. So I hope you guys liked this tutorial. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up below. Okay, and I hope you guys check out some other things as well, and check out my my Gumroad page. Well, I'll put a link to that in the description, and also some of my Facebook groups. So I'll see you guys next time.